Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I've got something a bit different for you guys, which is not something I would normally put on my channel. It's not something like I've put on my channel before, but it's something that I really wanted to film because I know when I was in this situation I really wanted a video to watch, to see what happened, to see how other people revised. So I thought it would be the perfect video to film, because if I had one of these when it was like time to do my theory test, then I'd be very grateful. If you can't tell by the title, I'm going to film my theory test experience, if you want to call it, and how I revised. And I did pass first time, in case anybody's wondering. I've actually got my results here. So for the multiple choice section, because there's two sections to the theory test, for the multiple choice I got 45 out of 50 and you needed 43, and for the hazard perception you needed 44 and I got you needed 44 and I got 61, there you go. So yeah, that's what I got, and I did pass first time like I said, but I thought I'd just start from the beginning and tell you all what you need to do when you first start, and then just from the basics really up until how I revise and how the test goes. I've just got some notes here that I wrote out as to what I did so I could remember and include it all for you guys. So the first thing you need to do before you even do your provisional test, before you even start your driving lessons, because I know some people do it, provisional test? What? Theory test. I know some people do their theory test before they start their driving lessons. However, I did start my driving lessons first. The first thing you need to do is apply for a provisional licence if you don't have one already. You can do that online just on the Gov website, and you need one of them before you do any driving lessons, any theory tests, anything like that. It's just your licence, you'll have a driver's number on it, and that's kind of what you need it for. And then once that's came through in the post and everything like that, you'll then need to obviously book your test. So the theory test costs £23. You can book that again on the same website where you ordered your provisional from. Once you have booked that all through, and like I said, it costs £23, you get an email just to verify the date, the time. I know that there is normally quite a lot of slots available. However, if I was you, I'd give yourself enough time to revise. I believe I booked mine a month ahead, so then I had that month to revise, but to be honest, you probably could do it in about 3 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks I'd kind of say to revise for. And that's not like hardcore revision, it's just kind of like when I had the time to do it. When you get the email, they'll tell you that you need to bring your provisional with you when you come. You'll need to get there 15 minutes before it starts. Now make sure you do that, because I feel like they are quite strict on that. At least where I did mine anyway. Just make sure you're not late, because obviously everybody's got slots when they're doing the test and you don't want to miss your slot because that's your section, and if you miss that you might not get to do your test that day. Before I go on to all my experience of the actual test, I'm going to tell you all how I revised, because I feel like that is the most important point. Most people that do their theory test the first time and fail is because they haven't prepped, they haven't revised beforehand, and that's why they fail. If you go over all the information that is on whatever you're using, then you will pass, because that's what you need. Like I said, there is two sections to it. The first one is multiple choice and the second is hazard perception. So the multiple choice one is the one that I preferred, where you get questions and you choose out of a few, you kind of click the one that it is. So it's not like you have to type the full answer, you do get the choices, which I much prefer on tests. Guys, I used this app here. Now I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll put it either on the screen or down below. It's the DVSA theory test kit. Now I just purchased the one thing and that was fine for me. I think this is about £4.99, £5 around that mark if you want to get it. And I just think it's got everything on. If I just go on the app, this is what the app looks like. I've been on this for so long, I've literally just had to download it again. So I could show you all it, but it says theory test for car drivers. Theory test for car drivers and the hazard perception. So that's like the multiple choice and that is the hazard perception. So if you actually go on the theory test, it shows every single unit that you need. You can enter your test day and then it will tell you how much progress you've done, and then on here there's study, practice and mock test. Now I feel like a lot of people just go straight onto the mock test and they just do them over and over and over until they feel like they know all the questions. I personally can't learn that way, that's just not how I learn. So if you click on the study bit, down here they're all on 0% now, but there's every single unit that you need, like all of them are the units that you need to revise. Then if you tap them, they've got all different sections. Then once you've done them, you can click yes, I've read this, and it kind of tallies up to how much you've done. Now that for me is where I revise the most, because everything in there is pretty much like the majority of it will be in your test. What I decided to do was use the app, and I made a folder which I actually have here because it's just been kept under my bed. And I've got every single unit on here, and then for each unit these are like the notes that you get with it. And I know that some people might think this is a bit extra, but I kind of wrote out every single one and then did some little questions. I really hope this is in shot. Did some little questions on like what the common questions are, and I did this for every single unit. And then in here is just every single bit of information that you need. And along with that, you also need to learn the highway code. So I printed it out I printed this out on the same app. You can actually click it and it brings up the booklet. So you don't need to pay for it all, it's in the app. Sorry, I've picked what I'm on about. I did pass mine about a year ago now, so I just forgot loads of things. That's why I had to kind of write it all down. But yeah, that's kind of what this folder's for. I found that really, really helpful. The perception is also on the app, and if you don't know what that is, let me just get it up. Hazard perception is also on the app, so this is just a video, and you've got to click when you think a hazard is approaching or when it's approached. So there's no real way to describe how you do this. The best way to do it is just keep practicing it. I know the first time when I did mine, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I'm never ever going to get this. But if you actually watch the video on how it explains it on this app, I'm sure it'll be somewhere else as well. If you don't want to download this app, but this is really handy. It just tells you what to do, and the ones actually in your theory test are a lot easier than the ones on the app. So if you can't do them, don't worry too much, because I'm sure you will be able to on the day. Like I said, also on this app they do mock tests, which I found so handy. When you go to do your test, there'll be 57 minutes and there's 50 questions you need to answer. On here you get to do a test and it tells you whether you'll pass or fail. I felt like they're really handy to know that I was on track and know that I was getting to the point where I was ready to do my theory test. Mom actually dropped me there, so I didn't have to worry about getting there. And I left my phone and everything at home because I know that you did have to leave it in a locker there, which I'll get onto in a minute. And I'd rather just not worry about it. I think I left it with Mom in the car because she just dropped me off outside, which was really handy. If someone can drop you there, I would recommend, but obviously that's not always the case. When you first get there, you just walk in. Depends where you are. Obviously every test centre is different. I'm just going on the one that I went to. And the first thing you do when you get to the desk is they ask you your name and they ask you for your provisional, so make sure you take that because that is the most important thing. They'll need your driving number off that and they'll put it all in the computer. I know a lot of people said when they went to do theirs that the people on the desk were horrible. They're so like stone-faced, don't smile. However, when I went, everyone was really friendly. So once again, I think it does depend on your test centre and stuff like that, but I did have a really good experience with it. When you first get there, they make you sign a sheet basically to say you're not going to cheat and just the rules and bits like that. And once you've done that, if you have a coat, a bag, if you have your phone, anything like that, they'll make you put it in a locker. Like I said, I didn't take anything with me, so I didn't have to worry about that step. But they make you put it in a locker and you can get it when you come out. You have to walk around the corner and there's another person there. Once again, that woman was really nice to me. They'll set you up to a computer. So they'll give you a number and then you just go in and find that computer and all your test is ready and set up. They'll explain to you about the hazard perception because they have some earphones that you need to put on, and it will say on the screen when you need to put them on, so there's no need to worry about that. Go in, obviously you found your seat, you can take a water in if you want. Before you start on the screen you'll get a practice, so it can be something really simple, like what colour is the sky, you've got to pick blue, and it's just kind of getting used to the system and stuff like that. I feel like they are really handy. However, when I first get in there, I'm like, I just want to get on with it. Well, I remember everything fresh in my memory. And then on from that, you go on to the questions. I didn't use the full time. I think it only took me about 20 minutes. So if it does, don't worry. You can go back through your questions. At the end, if you feel like you've done one wrong, you can flag them if you are on that question and you want to come back to it or you don't know the answer. So you can go over them as many times as you want. Once you've done that part of the section, that's the actual multiple choice, then you can move on to the hazard perception. So they give you the option to have a 3-minute break in between, obviously to have a minute to yourself, to sort the headphones out and bits like that. However, I didn't use that 3 minutes because I was in the zone and I just wanted to get it done. Before you start hazard perception, there'll be a video showing you what you have to do. There'll be, I think there's about 3 practice ones, so you know exactly what you're doing before you start. Once you have finished all that, it says on the screen that you're done, and then I just walked out. Obviously some test centres might be different, but I just then walked out and I had to go to the reception. You could get your belongings then if you needed to, but like I said, I didn't need to get any of mine. And then there was actually somebody in front of me at the time and they were getting their results, and I was just like, oh my god, I really want to find out what mine are now, because you have to go to the reception to get them. And when there's someone in front of you, it just adds a bit more pressure, you know. Someone asked for your provisional, well, mine was a woman at the desk. She asked for my provisional again, and she just went and printed out my results on my computer, and they just give it you and you have no idea whether you pass or not, because they don't smile at you, say well done, because they can't discuss your results with you at all. So they just gave it me, and I decided to walk out before I looked at my results. And I passed, which I was so happy about. The most important thing when you go do your test is the preparation. I feel like if you're not prepared, if you haven't revised, you haven't practiced, you're not going to pass. And most of the time, people that do fail first time, it's because they haven't prepared for it and they haven't revised, because they thought, oh yeah, it's just multiple choice, I'll just do what I think at the time, because you're more likely to pass. When you have passed, they'll print something out for you, and then they give you this certificate here. So on here it just says what scores you've got. So like I said, I got 45 and 61, so that's just this bit here. And then it tells you anything that you've got wrong. So for me, I just had one incorrect answer on practically each section, which isn't too bad. One thing I was going to say, on the practice questions on the app, a lot of them that I did, well pretty much all of them actually, were on my test. So if you've practiced on the app, on the mock questions, you'll pretty much know all the answers anyway. Like I said, you will get your certificate with your name on, everything like that, and then you have 2 years from that point to then pass your driving test. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to include. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down below and I'll get back to you. Because like I said, when I was doing mine, I really wanted a video like this so I could see what's happening, because I much prefer to watch a video on the kind of structure of it, so I know what's going to happen when I get there. If you did like this video or you found it helpful in any way, I would love if you could give a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. But apart from that, I will see you next week for a new video. Bye dolls. Won't change a thing now, there was never trust. Don't you say a word, cause I've heard it all.